The fog parted like windows, revealing impossible places. Broken ships sailing forever. They drift above a strange world. The sea is turned upside down. The sky is water, and the earth is mist. That night, the sea was silent and dark. There were no stars and no moon, only black water stretching forever. John Davis stood at the front of his ship, the northern wind, staring at the horizon. The line between the sky and the sea looked wrong, as if it had been cut. Behind him, the sailors were uneasy. Some whispered prayers, others watched the water with fear. One sailor finally said, "Captain, the maps end here." John nodded. He already knew. John was not sailing for gold or glory. He was sailing because the sea had called him since childhood. In his dreams, he always saw waves falling into nothing, as if the ocean had an edge. People laughed when he spoke of it. They said the world had no end. But John trusted his dreams more than their words. Now he had reached the place where doubt lived. As the sun slowly rose, the sea began to change. The waves no longer broke. Instead, the water leaned forward. Barrels rolled on their own. Ropes loosened without being touched. A sailor screamed, "The sea is falling." Another laughed, then cried. John felt fear, but also calm. This was what he had been waiting for. Then they saw it. The edge of the world was not a wall or a waterfall. It was a tear in reality. The sea poured downward into another sea below, floating in the air and moving in strange circles of light. Time felt slow. The air felt heavy. John whispered, "You are real." Suddenly, a sword was drawn. Edward Black, the first mate, stepped forward, his face twisted by fear. "If we go on, we die," he shouted. "We turn back now." John answered quietly, "Anyone who wishes to leave may do so. The ship will continue." Edward attacked him, but the ship shook. Edward slipped, stepped backward, and crossed the edge. He vanished without a sound. His sword fell after him and disappeared. Silence filled the ship. The ship moved forward, then fell, not straight down, but through light and darkness. John saw memories that were not his. He saw his mother, his childhood, and faces of sailors long dead. Some men prayed, some screamed, then everything stopped. They floated above a strange world. The sea was upside down, the sky was water, and the ground was mist. Shapes made of light moved slowly around them. One came closer, and its voice entered their minds. "You have crossed," it said. John asked, "Where are we?" The voice replied, "Between your world and ours." "Is this the end?" John asked. "No," it said. "This is a beginning." The mist opened like windows, showing impossible places. Broken ships drifted forever. The sea trembled. Some sailors began to fade away. John reached for one, but his hand touched nothing. "Take what you must," John said. "Just let me return." The voice answered, "The way back lives in memory." Lights surrounded them. John woke to normal waves in a normal sky. The ship was broken, and only 3 sailors remained. They returned to port, but no one believed them. John wrote one line in his journal, "The world does not end, it only hides." Then he disappeared. Sailors still avoid sailing too far because on silent nights, the sea sometimes leans. After John Davis disappeared, rumors spread through the port like fog. Some said he escaped to another land. Others said the sea took him back. A few believed he had crossed the edge a second time and never returned. The ship, the Northern Wind, remained tied to the dock, broken and quiet. People avoided it, saying it felt wrong to stand too close. as if the wood remembered things it should not. Griffith, one of the 3 surviving sailors, tried to return to normal life, but at night he dreamed of water above his head instead of sky. When people asked him about John, he fell silent. The second survivor, a young sailor named Hale, refused to sail again. Every evening, he stood at the shore, waiting for the sea to lean. One night, he walked into the water and did not return. Months passed, and strange things happened. Compasses spun for no reason. Birds circled the harbor at night. Once the tide pulled back too far, leaving the sand marked with a long, thin curve like a scar. Years later, John Davis's journal was found hidden in an old tavern wall. Most pages were blank. Only a few lines were written. One said, "The edge is not a place, it is a choice." Another said, "Some truths must stay distant or they break the world." The last line read, "If the sea leans again, do not follow unless you are ready to be forgotten." Many years later, on a winter night, the sea became too quiet. Ships stood still. An old silence filled the air. A young captain named Elias sailed alone, following the place where the horizon bent slightly wrong. The compass stopped. The sea leaned. Far ahead, Elias saw a man standing where no water should hold him. The figure raised a hand, not to call, but to warn. Elias understood. He turned back. The sea straightened. The world closed its wound. Elias never sailed far again. No grave was ever found for John Davis. Some say he became part of the edge, not lost, not alive, but watching. Others say he walks unseen shores, guarding the break between worlds. The sea has never fallen again, not fully. But on the quietest nights, when the horizon looks just a little wrong, the water still leans, as if remembering. And somewhere beyond sight, something listens back. After John Davis vanished, rumors spread through the port like fog. Some said he escaped to another land. Others believed the sea took him back. And a few whispered that he crossed the edge a second time and never returned. As the northern wind remained tied to the dock, broken and silent, the harbor began to change. They said the edge follows those who have seen it, that once a person stands before the place where the world bends, a piece of that place bends inside them too. Griffith would wake screaming, claiming he heard waves falling upward. Old fishermen swore they saw shadows on the horizon that turned when watched. And children sometimes asked why the sea was breathing, as if the tide were the heartbeat of something enormous and unseen. There were stories of sailors who heard John's voice on the wind, not calling for help, but whispering warnings. Do not mistake curiosity for destiny. Some doors open both ways. The sea remembers